getting some WBC talk in this, right?
Yeah, definitely, of course.
It's the Bachelor lifestyle. It's the Bachelor lifestyle. We live in it. Can I steal you for a minute? It's my first impression, bros. Brian Beckner, Stewart, breaking down all the shows. It's the Bachelor.
Welcome back. You are listening to The Bachelor Lifestyle from theballerlifestyle.com. My name is Brian Beckner. It's the finale of Love is Blind. We're discussing it here. I'm joined now by the great reality Steve. Steve, what is up? Also joining us, of course, about to do his signature sign-on is the inimitable Jason Stewart. Jason, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Hello, da.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, can we take care of some business real fast before we get into this?
Yeah.
I do want a reminder for the new listeners that are coming in here. This show has been called A Great White Shark in a Sea of Reality Dating Show Podcasts. Major brand shifting language there. And the reason why we've been called a great white shark is because we have teeth. You know, we're not beholden to anybody. And this season of Love is Blind, since we last did our podcast, has just taken off. And I've noticed that Reality Steve is like deep in the weeds of the aftermath. He's done a couple follow-ups. He's done at least 10 podcasts in the last 14 days. So for our listeners' purposes, I just wanted to do kind of a general global view of what we just saw. So since we last stopped, the weddings had not happened yet, and the reunion has not happened yet. Incredible drama at every turn. Is there one thing that you want to focus in on most right now, Brian?
No, I was just watching a minute ago, and I mean, it's all like there's no big revelations, in the finale. People have, one guy has since knocked up a chick, everybody's moved on and got new partners. One guy who didn't know if he wanted to settle down has impregnated somebody. Alex is an even bigger douche. Like, he doubled down on the unlikability. Chris doesn't recognize his own flaws, but at least he was attempted to look apologetic. Alex, not, on the other hand. That's all I wanted to cover. Jay, why don't you just take us through it?
Well, let's start with Chris, because he's by far the most polarizing topic of this season and the most drama-filled. I know Reality Steve's got a lot of background on this guy, but I think that the last time we did the podcast, Steve had told us that Chris had done kind of an interview tour during the releases of these episodes, and he didn't seem to be too apologetic. He didn't approach this with too much humility. He seemed to stick by his guns.
Yeah.
So knowing that, Steve, after seeing the reunion when he didn't have a whole lot to say, do you think he was media coached or trained? He came off as a little bit more contrite and with a little bit more humility in the reunion, no?
Yeah, he pretty much had to do what he did on that reunion. Anything less would have been like, oh my gosh, dude, it's been a year and you still aren't getting it. He said what he needed to say, but just like with any apology, whether it's an athlete that has to apologize for their Twitter account being hacked or whatever, it's just words. And the thing is, we're never going to get an answer when it comes to Chris unless the next girl he dates, he does the same thing too, and she decides to run to the media, but I don't think that'll happen. So we're never going to know if this guy actually truly has gone into therapy and actually realizes how he comes across when he talks to women and the way he treats women. The one thing I will say for Chris on the reunion show, the one thing that I didn't like that he said is when Nick Lachey literally called him out and said, so no issues whatsoever with Jessica and how much money she made and how successful she was. And Chris said no. And that was probably his egos taking over, but it absolutely is one of the bigger reasons why he is, because we've seen him make 100%. Comments numerous times at the mixer about money. The phone call that I played with his ex-girlfriend, constantly bringing up money. He's just a guy that likes to flaunt money that he does not have. And So yeah, I didn't like that, but everything else was just, yeah, I didn't like what I saw about myself. I'm really working on it. It's like, will we ever know if he's working on it? Who knows?
It was kind of cringy, but in the sense that like I couldn't really look. I wasn't sad for him, but he was just so pathetic. So I don't know. Did he address the $63,000 in credit card debt that he has? Because
nothing like that.
That seems like something. Alex, on the other hand, I just wanted to murder. Like I just wanted to fucking grab him by the throat and just start pounding his fucking eyeball, because he took the other tact where he's like, I'm going to be really abrasive. I'm going to act like this is everybody else's problem. I'm going to basically call Ashley a bitch. And that, that's just going to be, I did nothing wrong in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy's a piece of work. I mean, he doesn't take accountability for anything. He has a very, very lack of self-reflection. I mean, here we are a year later, and at no point you couldn't have sat up there on the reunion show at just one time and just say, you know what, maybe I was wrong about that, or maybe I could have explained myself better in that situation. Just nothing. He's just, and his favorite face to make is this.
Yeah. What?
Nick?
Yeah.
Nick? Nick? What did I lie about, Nick? It's just, oh my God, this guy. Yeah,
I mean, he almost
made Chris look. He almost took over the villain role and made Chris number 2. But
I think he did. Mm-hmm. You've sort of forgotten about what a piece of shit Chris was, and don't get me wrong, huge piece of shit. But he's almost like a sad character at this point, whereas Alex is just a fucking supreme, all-time, classic, top of the fucking heap dickhead.
A great example of like how Alex sees the world is that, if you watch that back, like any human being watching that back would think, man, that's not a great edit, or he's just a really like a sociopath. And then he got all of the shit from social media on the watch back, and to sit there and have the balls to basically call this thing a tie. I mean, to say that with a straight face, that this whole thing was a tie, after he kind of took her through all of that shit and was grilled by her dad and all this. How does he not take an L and just be like, look, I learned a lot about myself in this, and that I come off like a massive douchebag. I see how unlikable people think I am. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on my own presentation and maybe the way that I handle certain things. But no, he was just like sticking to his guns. He calls it a tie. And when Lachey's wife tried to like generalize that that maybe he wasn't as forthcoming about a couple of things, he's like, name a couple. Just give me a couple. Give me a couple of details. It's like, come on, dude. You think she brought receipts on all your lies? It was just bullshit.
Yeah, it is amazing. Just a huge lack of self-reflection, and knowing that ever since the show started airing, he's very well aware of what the public thinks of him and shit. Even if he didn't believe it, in that moment, you have a chance to at least win some people over with your words. And he tripled and quadrupled down on the character that we saw for 4 weeks. So
to answer Jason's question about Chris, but about Alex, did Alex get some media training? No. He did not. He did not. He took exactly the wrong tact in every possible way.
Yeah. I mean, Chris sat there, and Chris just looked like he was in a fog the whole episode. Like the eyes were just kind of bugged out. Yeah. He grew out his hair.
He had his new look
up there. Yeah. And it's just, but just the way he spoke, it was just so solemn and maybe that was his way of trying to earn points. Like, he did the bare minimum. He did what he should have done in that situation for a guy who knows he was very well aware that he had been crucified online. So, okay, he said the things he needed to say, but again, it's just words, and who knows if he's ever going to follow through with any of that.
Yeah.
Could we get into could we get into the Connor and Connor and Bree aspect with Chris? So like, for listeners who didn't totally pay attention to the season, like Chris, full bore made a pass at Bree at the bar the last time the cast was together on camera anyways during the season, and it was cringy. And Bree, as I had kind of pointed out, like I think I got some pushback from Steve or somebody, like it seemed like she was catering to him a little too much, like she was listening, and we didn't really know if it was just the editing that was doing that, or if she actually just kind of gave him a lot of room in that time to be a total asshole. And she actually kind of apologized to I think the people impacted by that. But the whole Bree Connor thing. So I find the winner in this season to be Connor. I think he comes off as completely normal on a show that it's almost impossible to be normal on. He says kind of the right things at the right time. He's an admitted blue collar worker. He sells dumpsters, literally. But he comes off so well here, and it looks like he's going to get his gal after all, right?
Yeah, they've been together for a year. This was filmed in March of 2025, and they're still together. And, you know, the thing that was cleared up, I don't remember if it was cleared up on the reunion show. Every single one of these people that was on the reunion did a podcast afterwards, whether it was Nick Vial's, whether it was Caitlin Bristow's, whether it was 80s. Like, it was just, they were all over the place. But one thing that I did learn from Connor was when they had their quote unquote breakup in the kitchen, he's like, we never took time off. Like, we left that kitchen, and while the TV show made it seem like a breakup, Bree and I have been with each other literally ever since that day. So, they've been together for a year. So clearly they are a successful couple, at least as of right now. Stu, I know you're dying to get to your line that Connor said about being bros. Fill everybody in on Connor's line.
Dude,
Cleveland Bros, or what was his line?
Well, I mean, it was actually Nick Lachey. Turned to the villain, Chris, and was like, or maybe he said it to Connor. He's like, hey,
bro code.
Boys from Ohio know this. You know, we all have a bro code. And it's like, Ohio.
That's only in Ohio.
Very specific to Ohio bro codes, I guess.
Ohio bro. Yeah. I did like seeing that Connor, because basically that's what we said on this show. We're like, Connor and Bree seem like a match, and it's just that they're in this compacted, accelerated timeline where they're expected to get engaged and get married in 3 weeks, and that's ridiculous. If they had some time to let it breathe, and even she acknowledged, she's like, you know, the way we kind of go at each other, you know, it's fun to us, but it might seem like it's you know,
came across that she was
came across that she was kind of a bitch to him. And they kind of go back and forth, and I thought they, you know, I could see the roots, the sapling of a cute, nice, blossoming relationship that just needed some time to breathe without some fucking cameras in the room. So that is, I think that couple is, you know, really one of the big winners of the season for sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she's still taking heat online from the second. You know, one thing I want to point out about this season that I don't know if you listeners know, depending if you follow Reality Steve or not.
Yeah, of course they
actually had spoilers for this season. Like, I have never had Love is Blind spoilers in my life. And I had the couples spoiled before you saw the episodes. I had the who got, first off, I had, before the episodes aired, who are the couples that you're going to see get engaged. And then after that, I had who are the couples that get to the altar who ended up getting married. And then I had your reunion spoilers. And those ended up all being right. And, you know, will I get them next season? I don't even know, because I've never had them in 9 seasons before this. I get them all for season 10. Maybe I will for season 11, maybe not. By the way, season 11 was filmed right at the same time as this one was, March of 2025. So it's not going to air until October of 2026. Those people will be 18 months since their season filmed, and it was in Boston. So we're going to
era. Yeah. Let's go down to Fenway. Era.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Boston Finn is part of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can put up with that accent for an entire season. In terms of the biggest losers on this show, we got Connor and Bree as the biggest winners. Amber, troubling situation with Amber. She needs to do a little bit of work on herself, I think. She seems like a nice person with good intentions, but not really somebody that's capable of being in a relationship in any way whatsoever. And that was borne out by her engagement or marriage to Jordan, right? That didn't go well.
They were together 4.5 months, I think Jordan said. So they were married for 4.5 months, because they got married on camera at the ceremony. It was a very like odd I guess you would say that the ceremony was extremely odd and that they really played up how hesitant Jordan was. She said going into the marriage ceremony that he was going to say no and that she's prepared for him to say no. So I think he kind of surprised everybody in the room by saying that he wants to marry her. And then this thing kind of plays out. And that if you don't recall, he was the one in the pause that said that any woman with a child is a deal breaker. And then she has a 7-year-old. And I guess that 7-year-old didn't really play a huge factor. It sounds like they never really moved in together. They had this thing where she lives kind of in a rural part of whatever city he lives in. They didn't want to move in together. And then Jordan and Amber just were kind of like doing the, I would say, cliched, just breaking up stuff, just like stuff that just that people break up over. And Jordan probably didn't handle it the best. She didn't handle it the best, but it seemed as though that it was pretty ugly towards the end just because of the kid involved.
My hot take after the Amber Jordan breakup is the show has now been on the air for 10 seasons and they have had 0 marriages where one person in the party has a child and one person doesn't. So let's get rid of the single parents. Not that single parents can't find love. It's more along the lines of not in this situation. It's already a ridiculous concept to meet somebody through a wall and expect them to get married 6 weeks later. Involving a child, no step parent is going to know for a fact that they want to marry somebody in 6 weeks. And then the other person, which would be Jordan in this situation, can't know for sure if he wants to immediately become a step parent. So either do a full season of nothing but single parents for Love is Blind or do
there you
go.
go.
They've had 3 engagements in the last 3 seasons where one person was a single parent, one person wasn't, and none of them ended up getting married. So they are now 0 for 3. They've never had it happen over 10 seasons. Let's just get rid of the whole single parent thing. It's too much. It's too much for them. It's impossible.
And they skew younger, right? So like these people haven't been on the planet long enough to really consider or just be ready to be any kind of a parental figure in some child's life. They're still children pretty much themselves. That's why they're on the show. And Jordan, it sounds like he, despite the fact that he was like, well, I don't want kids, or, I'm not, that's a deal breaker for me. He bent that rule, and sounds like the child was not the issue. The issue was that he didn't want to drive to Mount Vernon every day. And then she came to his buddy's wedding where he was the best man and got blackout drunk and embarrassed him and took an Uber home to Mount Vernon, in which case I got to side with Jordan. Amber seems like a nice person, but she's got some demons. Alcohol could be one of them. It's just a lot happening there for her. And I think Jordan escaped. Dodged a bullet.
Usually these reunion shows, the contestants show up to these reunion shows looking like better than they did during the filming, and they look healthier. Amber does not. So if Amber was, 34 going on 44 when the show was taping, she looks like she's had like a starvation diet combined with all that. Now,
very
Jordan,
gaunt.
he doesn't know what a starvation diet is.
No.
But
Really?
Amber looked beat up, and I felt bad for her because at some point, and she's one of those people that probably isn't great at emoting or like talking about her feelings. She just said like, yeah, and you didn't even say goodbye to my kid. And what kind of an asshole does that? And she just walks off the stage. And it was
She's
like,
a mess.
I really felt bad for her right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did too. And then Emma, an interesting turn with Emma and Mikey.
Oh.
Because, their whole thing was we don't want kids. And then Mikey reveals that, we talked about it. And, that was kind of important, I think, to kind of let us behind the scenes. I think Amber and Jordan might have said something that they had discussed it beforehand. It's like, how could you not discuss it before you go to the altar? And even Vanessa Lachey tried to like clean it up and said, well, we try to tell you guys not to say anything before you get to the altar because things could change and things could be it was like, wow, that was weird. Yeah.
I found, by the way, the sidetrack, I don't want you to lose your place, but like the host of this show I don't know how comfortable the creators of the show are with the host saying, we encourage the people to get to the wedding day before they break up. Like, that is a really strange thing to admit, because last season I'm like, why would these couples go all the way to that and get the dress and then bring their family in and then dump the other person? And now it's happened like 4 or 5 times in 2 seasons. And she revealed like on air that they're encouraged to do that. And under the guise of, because we want to see how, like, when your family's there and the most pressure is on you, that's when you know for sure. It's like, what? No, it kind of screws people over.
Well, obviously it's better TV. You know, that's not what they're, you know, they're trying to hide. Like last year we had that bombshell with Anton and that little Brazilian piece, you know, they're like in love the whole season, and they get to the aisle and she's like, actually, no, thank you. You drank tequila once and went to a strip club. I don't think so. But what I was going to say about Emma and Mikey, it's like they talked about it a few days before. They tell us that. And then, so Mikey's like, yeah, we knew, you know, and then, but then
we were both going to say no. That was what they talked about. They were both
Emma says yes. They get there and Emma says yes. And she goes, I thought that he would understand that once I said yes, that meant I wanted to have kids. Girl.
He's supposed to read your mind? Like, how's he supposed to know that?
Like it's been the whole thing the whole time. I'm not sure if I want kids. Then we talk about it 2 days before and decide we're both going to say no. And then I'm going to throw a fucking curveball and just say yes. And he's supposed to intuit that would mean that I wanted children. That was kind of weird, right?
Yeah. I want to reiterate, and I think we talked about this in an earlier podcast, but I do want to reiterate, even though this is only your second season watching it.
Yeah.
This crop of women, easily overall best looking crop of women. There wasn't one woman this season that I thought was
hot.
People will take it. People will take it the way it is. I don't even think any of them were average. They were all above average looking.
Yeah. The two, the two women of color that we didn't get to see move on. Also, Kia and Tyler, very hot. I mean, there was just, these guys all scored.
And then you got guys like Alex, Jordan, and Devon, just fumbling their bags all over the place on this show. Like, what the 100%.
Hell? You guys need, because I didn't get deep enough in the episode. Give me the update. What happened between Devante and Brittany because they left it. Yeah, they left it. They didn't get to the altar because of the prenup situation, despite the fact that Devante drives a Honda Accord. Hey, no shade. I drove a Honda Accord for very many years, but I also wasn't asking ladies to give me prenups, unfortunately. So I think I saw somewhere on the internet that Devante has wifed up some chick and put a baby in her since. How did their portion of the reunion go? Update us on that.
Well, let's also say that on the Honda Accord, didn't he say when he was having that breakup conversation with her, I make between $12,000 and $40,000 a month?
Yeah.
Sure you
know. It depends. It depends on how the sales are doing. Yeah.
But nice low mileage Accords, like $300 a month. Like that's not chump change to him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you what my version of it is, and then Steve might be able to fill in the blanks with some behind the scenes stuff. So the version that aired is Devante and her, I think, broke up on wedding day, but it was on a couch.
Yeah.
And it seemed pretty mutual at that point. Devante is always wishy-washy, non-committal bullshit. So it seemed like a fairly innocuous breakup on the wedding day. But then we find out afterwards that Devante, he has impregnated a woman. Her and Brittany are no longer together. I guess they didn't even see each other afterwards, even though Devante said he did want to work on it. He moved in with Alex in Arizona, and he took a detour trip with 3 of the female castmates to Austin to watch a musical act named Rufus. And the Rufus scenario in this involving Priyanka, by the way. Priyanka, for somebody who's never been coupled up in a series, is a major factor in this entire season.
Another great agitator. Yeah, very hot. Totally.
Yeah, and
are we to understand that Alex got a piece of that? Like, are they exes? No, they just know each other. Okay, fair.
Yeah, he knew her. Priyanka went deep into the pods with, I forget, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but they never showed him because, but she literally got broken up with, or he broke up with her. She broke up with him like the day before engagement day in the pods. So you see her in the women's quarters a lot, and you're just like, wait a second. We're down to 3 or 4 women, and we keep seeing this Priyanka girl still there, yet we never see her in the pods. That's because they just chose not to show her, and she broke up the day before. Yeah, I was so confused by that Austin trip, and they have all talked about it on podcasts after it, and I'm still confused. I'm so over it. It happened. They literally said it happened 2 weeks after filming Wrap, so this was literally a year ago. Again, this story, I just don't care about it enough to dive into who was wrong and who was right. Who cares?
I will just say this, that Brittany, not Devante's type looks wise. Now no shade to Mrs. Devante, but it looked like a downgrade to me. That's all I'll say. Like he's, like he went from the penthouse to the outhouse there, and maybe that's more his thing. I don't know.
And I'm guessing he wasn't planning on knocking up this woman that he's now with.
Yeah, he's doing the right thing though,
So
weak pullout game.
Yeah, there is some stuff. His ex that he dated from July into December. Has already done an interview saying, I had no idea. And now he's saying that he's been with this woman. Well, we were last intimate in November, and you broke up with me in December. Does this woman know about this? And how far? Like, he didn't say how far along this woman is pregnant, his new fiance, probably because he knows his ex has spoken and done an interview and saying, we were intimate in November. So if your new fiance is 4 months along or more, that means you cheated on her. So he's keeping that private.
Remember, it was not that long ago when Judd, the acoustic guitar man from Nashville, won Hannah Brown's season of The Bachelorette.
Jed.
Jed or Judd? Jed. And then was outed as being the biggest piece of shit on the planet because he had a girlfriend. When now that's, it's just like in the timeline has accelerated so much that's not even considered. Like, who doesn't have a girlfriend or boyfriend before they go on one of these reality shows? Like, it was crazy to think that Judd was going there not really attempting to find love, and now that's all way in the past, and that was like 3 years ago.
As you say that, we are literally embroiled in The Bachelorette, which starts airing this Sunday. Who is a woman from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives that has had an on and off relationship with her baby daddy. And we just found out. Yeah. We just found out.
Frankie Paul.
Yes. 3 first names.
Yes.
We just found out that when season 4 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives dropped last week, in the very last episode, literally the teaser, as they sign off on season 4 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, the last episode, we see Taylor Frankie Paul leaving to go be the Bachelorette. All the other women are waiting for her at the airport, and she doesn't show up because she was at home the night before. She's supposed to be the lead of the Bachelorette, banging her baby daddy.
Getting deep.
Having sex with him. So now it brings into the conversation, well, how serious was she about this process if the night before she left to be the lead? It's one thing if the contestants do it because they know going in, I'm 25 or 30. I'm not going to win this thing. So I want to keep my girl happy at home. I'll come back single and we can just resume where we left off. This is the lead who has said, I've been given this great opportunity, and yet she's not over her baby daddy. Just
all right, so
Jason, it might be difficult to cover this season of The Bachelorette without spoiling. Let's focus. It's been spoiled.
Yeah. Well, no, let's focus on this.
Our dear friend here.
I want to
every time. Let's
drill down on this. So since it's been uttered on our podcast, I think we need to now. It's kind of like that part in the series about a trial that as soon as like one of the sides opens up the door, the other side could rush in. So Steve just said that the next Bachelorette has been compromised. Has the network responded to this bit of news today? Has there been some kind of a formal corporate response to your bombshell that she slept with the baby's daddy the night before?
Yeah. Well, that wasn't my bombshell. That was on the show.
No.
That was literally on the Secret Live show.
Fair.
But good paying attention. No, but as we speak and we record this on Tuesday, Taylor Frankie Paul is supposed to be on Good Morning America tomorrow morning. So they are in PR crisis mode. I'm very curious to see what she says, because that was obviously the ending of season 4 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And then we found out yesterday through all the media outlets, TMZ people, everybody's reporting, there is a domestic violence investigation currently underway between Taylor Frankie Paul and Dakota from 3 weeks ago, which was, a good 2 months after filming ended, but still, does it affect the show? Do they pull the show off the air? But it's still an investigation. It's not, no charges that were filed. We're still in the early stages, but so I'm really curious to what she says tomorrow. There's no way she's going to address the DV charges. There's no way.
Have you yet to spoil the entire season? No, you had it. You had it already.
Yeah, I posted it on Monday.
What a king. Jason, what is your middle name, Jason? Any thoughts of using your full middle name so you can be hoarding as many first names as Taylor Frankie Paul?
Jason Michael
Stewart. You could also be a first name.
My middle name is Michael. Please tell me yours is too, Brian, so we could have 3 Michael.
It's not no, it is not my middle name, unfortunately. That'd be great if it was.
What is it? Rufus also?
It's Wade.
Wade. Okay. So your parents are anti-alliteration, huh? They had a chance.
They
had a chance to go with the triple B.
Yeah, Brian. My dad's middle name is Bruce, so he could have given me his middle name, and I could have been
Bruce Beckner. Brian Bruce Beckner is a badass name.
I'd be rich. I'd be a billionaire right now with that name. Yeah.
So Steve just informed our listeners that the entire Bachelorette has been spoiled. If you love spoilers, Reality Steve's your guy. Go to realitysteve.com.
Best in the world. Follow
his social media. But Beckner and I, we kind of stick to the linear broadcast of these whole things.
You don't traffic.
I want to kind of the segue for this is I want to talk about our Bachelor experience combined with this experience. So if it's Chris Harrison or Jesse Palmer, both of them very corporate guys. They do what the show wants them to do, rarely step out of line, rarely inflict judgment on the contestants. I will say Nick Lachey in this reunion, as it pertained to Chris, I've never seen a reality dating show host put their thumb on the scale as much as Nick Lachey did.
He did a great job, I thought.
He was not letting up on Chris. I don't know whether to give him credit for being that biased or whether to be like, I don't know if that's your place. That's kind of the contestant's place. What did you guys think of Lachey completely fucking scorching this guy?
Yeah, he put Bell to ass for sure. I think he should have, because everybody knew that Chris was taking the most on social media of anybody on the show. It wasn't even close. And just having him get away with, I saw some stuff. I didn't like the way I looked. Like it had to go deeper than that. He had to be pressed about, well, what didn't you like? Well, what? And Chris wasn't really great with his answers. It was just, like you said, it was very media trained. He just didn't want to upset anybody else. And I just, again, it's like any apology, whether it's Tom Brenneman after dropping a G-bomb on the air about the city of San Francisco.
Yes. Kansas City. It was Kansas
Nick
City.
Castellanos. Castellanos.
It's just words, and you just never know. You hope people get better after they apologize, but most of the time we just never know,
Nick Lachey was the voice of the audience there, and he needed to be the voice of the audience because he's a man. And if Vanessa Lachey was the voice of the audience, it doesn't hold as much weight because she's a woman, and women are expected to not like this guy Chris for jolting another woman, and same with Alex. But because Nick took the initiative to be the voice of the audience, it carried more weight because he was like, hey, what the fuck? Because it was offensive to the entire audience, not just the female portion of the audience.
I do need to make a point. I'd
love that.
Some guy named Haramal. He was a cast member that really didn't make it onto camera during the pods, but he was a contestant. He looks like he's like 5'3".
Yeah.
Asian descent. Now he and Jessica, who Chris screwed over, he and Jessica, I guess, have become a couple after the show.
Yeah.
They showed Haramal, and he had just this amazing like speech of sorts about Jessica, and ending in like that's why you should regret things, because in case you get a second chance, you're not going to miss it. And like he said it very eloquently. It was like most guys watching were very jealous of the way he spoke about this woman and his love. Has it been spoiled yet, Steve, or is Jessica still hasn't found out that he's gay? Haramal.
Wow. This was the score of all scores. Like, this guy, Haramal, is a fucking genius, because this chick's she's hot, by the way. Jessica's hot. Yeah. She's hot. She's a physician. She's got a big ass house. Like, she's open to love. And this guy cruised in and he's like, hey, I'm here for it. And look, I get it. He could be like, hey, honey, you're working another 16-hour day down at emergency room today. Would you mind? Can you take the Mercedes today? Because I was hoping to drive your Range Rover, because my golf clubs fit in the back. And I'll be at the country club, and just whenever you're done, like, take your time. If you got to work late, no big deal. I'll be here. I'll be here in the big ass house in the jacuzzi, hanging out.
Wait a second. Haramal's a doctor.
Oh, he's also a doctor. Perfect.
Yeah, Haramal's a doctor. So I think that obviously that probably helped in the fact. And my guess is, because when you start in the pods, everybody talks to everybody, and then you start ranking, and the people at the bottom of your list, the producers just basically don't give you any time with them. And that's how you start narrowing your guys. And at the end of every day, you basically start crossing people off your list. So my guess is Jessica and Haramal had something in the pods where there was like a connection, and then they could just pick up on that once.
And it's like The Bachelor, like Steve's pointed out many times, that there's like these Bachelor cells in certain places in the country, and these people show up to The Bachelor, and you're like, oh, this person's fresh to The Bachelor, but they know the people from The Bachelor. They've been out at the clubs. Who could forget Stagecoach? Everybody's at Stagecoach. Blake's fucking everybody at Stagecoach. Like, they're all exist in this world that we don't know about. And so I imagine it's the same with Love is Blind, that they're all, they wrap filming, they're all going out, they're meeting up with each other. Like, it's not a big surprise that people are going to hook up with people that they maybe didn't know as well in the pods.
Well, this show makes it a lot easier, because Love is Blind is filmed. They're taking people that all live in the same city. Whereas Bachelor, you have to go to Coachella and go to Stagecoach to possibly meet people from the show, because they're all coming from different places. But it seems like Love is Blind, it's a hell of a lot easier to maybe make a connection post-show with somebody that was in the pods, because they're all in the same city. Yeah, or close. I mean, this season, it was basically the three main cities everyone was from was Columbus, Cincinnati, and
Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
So so they're all, I don't know how close those three are to each other, but
Cincinnati's way far away. It's down at the bottom by Kentucky.
Yes.
Cleveland's up at the top by the lake. Columbus is kind of closer to Cleveland, but also far. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, geographically, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Jason, we got to wrap here. Steve's got a lot of Bachelorette news to break. Do we want to end with him giving us a little quick thumbnail preview of what to expect on this season with first name hoarder and serial texter Taylor Frankie Paul?
I think we should. I think I'm going to give Steve.
Something else you want to get to? Yeah.
I'm going to give Steve a couple seconds to think about how he could most concisely preview this next season of The Bachelorette. But I do want to say this, that each of us, as we talked about the biggest winners on this show, each of us conveniently left out like the most boring loving couple in the history of reality dating.
That's true. And
Christine and Vic, from the first second they met in the pods until now, they're madly in love. Vic is a black guy with a checkered background, as he admits. He's found God. Christine is a white woman with a checkered background and had daddy issues, and now everything's resolved. And after this entire process and a year of marriage, the one issue that they've had is that she wears socks to bed. That's how boring. That's how boring this couple was.
Either. Yeah, I don't like that either.
Awful.
There is, I've seen that there's some scuttlebutt on the internet Steve, and maybe you could speak to this, that they are such a perfect couple that people are thinking they were planted on the show just to be a couple because they were so ideal for each other, so in love immediately, and they look like they're going to be married and in love with each other for the rest of their lives. She leaves him little notes around the house every day telling him what a fucking great guy he is. Like, it's just beyond the pale of what you could think a happy relationship could be.
I wouldn't say it is planted, but what I will say is I think, the whole thing where they didn't get to go to Mexico and all that stuff. Yeah. I think what happened is producers saw, shit, the 6 couples we sent to Mexico, we don't have any hope for any of these. These 6 couples are a fucking mess.
Mm-hmm.
So while we did send them there, let's allow them to come back to Ohio and be part of it, because they will be, at least we know we have one. Maybe one of these 6 will get their shit together and we'll have something from them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, maybe that's what it was, is that they weren't planted, but halfway through the season, they were like, we've got nothing. So we might want to bring Vic and Christine aboard.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That is, maybe just opportunist. It was an opportunity that they recognized to have this couple, because they were boring, but they were delightful and they were inspiring. And it is a real testament to, hey, that like, this is a ridiculous concept, but look at Vic and Christine. Christine.
Yeah. Vic and Christine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Well, there you go. By the way, tight 30 today.
Tight 30. Okay. Give us a thumbnail of the Taylor Frankie Paul season.
Thumbnail.
Yeah.
She's a woman from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives franchise.
Yeah.
She is a divorced mother of 3. She's got 2 baby daddies. She lives in Utah. She clearly can't leave Utah. Yeah. And she's got 22 guys competing for her. And she banged her baby daddy before she left for filming. And we're supposed to believe that she's taking the process seriously. That's all you need to know for right now.
Dakota.
Good.
Fantastic. Okay.
I like it.
Anything else, Jason Stewart?
We're good, man.
Okay.
Yep.
Great work. Reality Steve, realitysteve.com, Reality Steve on all your social medias. The guy is just, he's doing it all, and everyone should be aware of the work that he does.
Let's go. Hey, let's go. Team USA tonight. Let's go. Just started.
I would like to see Venezuela win, just because
it
would infuriate Jason Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think if they win, they'll celebrate at all?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be excited if they win?
Look, if you hit a home run and you have the indecency, the lack of shame to be excited about that home run and pump your fist with the pure adrenaline of hitting a home run in your country's uniform. Jason Stewart is not going to let that go. That is not the way he came up playing the game.
They didn't teach him that at Cal State Fullerton. Did not teach him that at Fullerton.
Somewhere along the way, celebrating and quote having fun became acceptable behavior when it is at the expense of your opponent. If you show up your opponent, you're having fun. If you're rubbing their face in the dirt, you're just having fun. You're just having fun. We should all just accept it, because society isn't showing on a day-to-day basis that extreme behavior that is normalized gets more extreme. So this we accept, and then the next person is going to do the most extreme thing, and then somebody's going to get hurt, if not killed, on a baseball field. And I'm going to be the one who said we should have stopped it. We should have stopped it.
What about the time? What about the time? The longest tenured current Dodger, and one of my all-time favorites, Max Muncy. He hits a fucking Titanic home run off of
Madison Bumgarner.
The guy with the girl's name, Madison Bumgarner. And Madison Bumgarner starts to cry on the mound about it, and because he was a red ass. And Max Muncy says to him, "Why don't you go get the ball out of the ocean?" Now technically it's a bay, but it's salt water, like I'll get Max Muncy's from Texas. I'll give him that. Now, would that be considered showing up of Madison Bumgarner? Is that an unacceptable
Yes.
Or is it okay because Madison Bumgarner, he was having a red ass before Max Muncy told him to go get the ball out of the ocean?
I'm a Dodger fan, but I'm Team Bumgarner in that situation. Don't show him up.
Wow.
Don't show him up.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's wrap it up there. Go Venezuela. For Jason Stewart, for Reality Steve, my name is Brian Beckner. This has been the Bachelor Lifestyle from the Bachelor Lifestyle, theballerlifestyle.com. We will see you next time. Thank you.
See, I would